My future MIL tried on my wedding dress without permission and destroyed it. I, female, 28, don't know what to do. Fiancé, male 30, uninvited her from our wedding. Throwaway because my fiancé's family knows my main, and honestly, this is all too much right now. Sorry for any formatting issues. I'm writing this on my phone. So I, female 28, and my fiancé Ryan, male 30, are getting married in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We've been together for 5 years after meeting at this bar trivia night. My team beat his team, and I still bring it up sometimes when we're being competitive. We moved in together about 2 years ago after he got promoted at his job. Wedding planning has been mostly fine, I guess, except for his mom, Patricia, female, 58, who has literally had something negative to say about every single decision. The venue is too small. It's not. The menu is too casual. It's what we can afford. And she kept asking why none of Ryan's cousins were bridesmaids because they're not my friends. Ryan lost his younger sister to cancer when he was in college, and I think that's why his mom is so possessive of him. I get it. She went through something horrible, but it doesn't give her the right to criticize everything. Anyway, so the dress? God, the dress. I've been saving for this dress for months. Taking extra weekend shifts at the hospital, I'm a nurse. Not going out for lunch, making coffee at home, and I also used some money my grandma left me when she passed away last year. I found this amazing vintage designer dress that was a little over my budget, but it was perfect. I had to get some alterations done to make it fit right. I'll be honest, I told Ryan it cost less than it actually did because I didn't want him to freak out about the price. It was my one splurge for the wedding, and I justified it to myself because we're saving money in other areas. I know I probably should have been honest, but he worries about money, and I had it covered with my savings. So yesterday, oh my freaking God, yesterday, I came home from a 12-hour shift and something felt off as soon as I walked in. The door to our spare bedroom was open, which was weird because I always keep it closed to keep our cat Milo out of there since that's where I'm storing all the wedding stuff. I went in and immediately noticed my dress wasn't hanging in the closet where I left it in the garment bag. I started panicking, like actual heart racing, sweating, the whole thing. I was looking everywhere, and then I saw it just crumpled on the guest bed, with this massive tear along the back seam where the zipper had been forced, and there was beadwork damaged all along the bodice. I couldn't breathe, literally couldn't breathe. And then I noticed makeup smudges on the neckline that weren't even my color. I wear neutral tones, and this was like a peachy color I would never wear, and I could smell Patricia's perfume. She wears this really distinctive Chanel perfume that gives me a headache. With my hands shaking, I called her. I asked if she had come into our apartment today. She admitted she used the spare key we gave her for emergencies because she was in the neighborhood and wanted to drop off some wedding magazines. When I asked if she tried on my wedding dress, she laughed it off, saying she was just curious about the quality and wanted to see if it would fit. When I told her the dress was damaged now, she had the nerve to say it must have been poorly made if it tore that easily. Then she suggested I could wear her preserved wedding dress instead. I hung up after that. She texted me right after saying I shouldn't be dramatic and that her dress is better quality anyway. I basically just broke down crying. I'm not usually the type to make a big deal about material things. I mean, it's just a dress, right? But this was my dress, the one I worked so many extra shifts for, the one that made me feel beautiful. And now it's ruined because my future Maëlle decided to squeeze herself into it without permission. I called my sister Claire, female, 31, who was furious and started looking up emergency alterations places and replacement options, but I was too upset to think straight. The thing is, I've always tried to minimize conflicts between Ryan and his mom. I don't want him to feel caught in the middle, and honestly, he usually gives in to her eventually when they fight. But this was too much. When Ryan got home, he immediately noticed I'd been crying. I didn't even say anything, just led him to the guest room. He saw the dress and asked what happened. I showed him the rip and the damaged beadwork and showed him the texts from his mom. I have never seen Ryan that angry. He immediately called his mom and put it on speaker. When she answered, he asked if she'd been in our apartment. She claimed she was helping with wedding preparations. When he asked about trying on my dress, she made excuses about quality checking and just seeing how it was made. Ryan got really angry. He told her she had no right to enter our home without permission, let alone try on my dress. When she said I was being too sensitive about a little accident, he told her she was no longer welcome at the wedding. She started crying, saying he couldn't mean that, but he hung up while she was still talking. I went to bed completely exhausted. Part of me feels validated that Ryan stood up for me, but another part feels horrible about causing this rift between him and his family. I know how important family is to him, especially after losing his sister. I'm worried he'll regret uninviting his mom once he calms down. I was so overwhelmed, I turned my phone off before going to sleep. This morning, I turned it back on and had 36 missed calls. 22 from Patricia, 8 from Ryan's dad Thomas, and the rest from various family members. Ryan is still furious and standing firm on his decision, but I have no idea how we're going to handle this. Our wedding is in 3 weeks, and my dress is destroyed, and now there's all this family drama. I don't even know what I'm asking. I guess, has anyone dealt with something like this? Am I overreacting about the dress? Should I try to convince Ryan to let his mom come to the wedding for his sake? Edit. A lot of you are asking about the spare key. We gave keys to both our parents for emergencies only, like if we locked ourselves out or if there was a water leak or something. We never said they could just drop by whenever they wanted. This is the first time she's used it without asking. Thank you all for the supportive comments. To those asking about possibly fixing the dress, the zipper was completely ripped out of the seam and some of the beadwork was actually pulled through the fabric. The tier goes through both the lining and the outer fabric. I haven't taken it to a seamstress yet, but it looks really bad. No, I don't want to wear her wedding dress as a replacement. Her dress is from the 80s with puffy sleeves and not my style at all. Plus, the idea of wearing it after what she did makes me feel sick. Those asking about the apartment, yes, we're definitely changing the locks today. Ryan already called our landlord about it. Now for the first update. For those who didn't see my post yesterday, my future mother-in-law, Patricia, tried on my wedding dress without permission while I was at work and completely destroyed it. My fiancé Ryan, male, 30, was so angry he uninvited her from our wedding, which is in 2 weeks, not 3, sorry, I was so upset I got the dates mixed up. When I woke up yesterday morning, I had 36 missed calls on my phone, 22 from Patricia, 8 from Ryan's dad Thomas, male, 59, and the rest from basically all of Ryan's family. His Aunt Judith, cousin Morgan, even his 84-year-old grandmother, who I'm pretty sure doesn't even know how to use her phone without help. His cousin probably dialed for her, honestly. Quick background, I guess. Ryan's family dynamic is complicated. Patricia has always been the one in charge, and Thomas is super quiet and just goes along with whatever she wants. It's been like this their entire marriage, 35 years. So seeing Thomas get involved was actually really surprising. Ryan spent most of the morning fielding calls while I was on the phone with my sister Claire about possible solutions for the dress. Turns out, Patricia spent all night calling everyone in the family, telling them I was massively overreacting to a tiny tear. That's not tiny, and that I was turning Ryan against his family right before the wedding. She's completely rewriting what happened and making herself the victim. I'm not usually one to hold grudges or whatever. I mean, I try to be understanding and give people second chances. But this isn't the first time Patricia has undermined me. When Ryan proposed, she made this comment about how my ring was modest, but appropriate for my simple taste. My ring is beautiful, and exactly what I wanted, by the way. And once when Ryan got a promotion, she literally said to me that he could have done better with his potential while looking directly at me. I remember being so confused because, was she talking about his job or ME? There are so many other little comments over the years that I just brushed off to keep the peace. Anyway, back to yesterday. Ryan has been amazing through all this. I honestly expected him to eventually give in to his mom, like he usually does. Sorry, babe, if you ever read this, but he's been completely solid. He says this isn't just about the dress, it's about her coming into our home without permission and violating our privacy and boundaries. I think maybe he's more upset about her using the emergency key than the dress itself. I'm not sure exactly what's going on in his head, but he's been super supportive. So here's how yesterday went down. Around noon, Patricia showed up at our apartment unannounced and started ringing the doorbell over and over like a crazy person. Ryan refused to open the door and told her through the door that she needed to leave. She started saying she came to apologize, but then immediately started yelling about how ungrateful we were being and how we were overreacting to an accident. How is trying on someone else's wedding dress an accident? Then she threatened to call the police for a wellness check on Ryan, implying that I was somehow controlling him or keeping him from his family. Like, what the frick? Who does that? About an hour later, Thomas called trying to reason with us and saying Patricia was upset over being uninvited to the wedding. Ryan explained to his dad very clearly why his mom's actions were unacceptable. I was really proud of how calm but firm he stayed. He told his dad this wasn't about the wedding anymore, but about respect and boundaries. Then Patricia called my mother trying to get her to intervene. This completely backfired because my mom has always seen through Patricia's BS and basically told her that what she did was inexcusable. My mom texted me after saying something along the lines of, "That woman needs therapy," which made me laugh for the first time in 24 hours. After that, Patricia started threatening to cancel several vendor payments she had offered to make as a wedding gift. We've been getting messages from various family members all day suggesting I'm overreacting and should be the bigger person for the sake of family harmony. One of Ryan's uncles literally texted, "It's just a dress," which made me want to scream. She's even been posting these vague passive-aggressive things on Facebook about people who come between mothers and sons and getting her friends to comment supportive things. I blocked her after seeing that because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. The most surprising part of all this was a call from Ryan's cousin Morgan. She actually reached out to support us and shared some stories I hadn't known about. Apparently, Patricia has a history of interfering in Ryan's relationships. She pressured his college girlfriend by constantly pointing out her flaws to Ryan. She later sabotaged another relationship by telling the woman Ryan had doubts about their future, which wasn't true. Morgan even told me Patricia had set Ryan up on blind dates early in our relationship without Ryan's knowledge. Ryan had mentioned some of this before, but honestly, I thought he was exaggerating. Now I'm seeing the pattern so clearly, and I feel bad for not believing him 100% before. Red flags everywhere that I just didn't see. But the most shocking part of the day was this. Patricia texted Ryan saying she left her iPad and some wedding planning folders at our apartment and could we give them back to her. Ryan agreed to gather her things and leave them with our doorman for her to collect. While collecting Patricia's stuff, I noticed her iPad was unlocked. I hesitated because I'm not usually the type to snoop, but given everything that had happened, I checked her browser history. You guys, she had searches from 2 days ago for how to prove a dress is poorly made, and mother of groom wedding rights, and even what to do if son marries wrong woman. Ryan walked in while I was looking at this and asked what I was doing. I just wordlessly showed him the searches. My hands were literally shaking. He sat down looking completely devastated and just said she did this on purpose. All of it. I didn't know whether to feel vindicated or just heartbroken for him. This is his mother, the person who's supposed to love and support him no matter what. Ryan took photos of the search history before putting the iPad with the other items to return. He was so quiet after that, it was scary. I asked if maybe we should postpone the wedding given all this drama, but Ryan firmly said no. That would be letting her win. He suggested we scale down the wedding and use the money we saved to find a new dress. I told him I'm worried about permanently damaging family relationships, but he said his priority is our relationship, not appeasing someone who would deliberately hurt me. Our wedding is now only 2 weeks away. After consulting with a seamstress, we've confirmed the dress is beyond repair. We've decided to move forward with the wedding, but have had to make significant changes since we've declined Patricia's financial contributions, which were substantial to be honest, to avoid any strings or manipulation. We've moved to a smaller venue we can afford ourselves, scaled back the reception, and are working with vendors to adjust our plans. Most have been super understanding given the circumstances. We've also taken these steps to protect ourselves, changed the locks on our apartment immediately, password protected all vendor accounts and added security questions, informed the venue about the situation and arranged for security in case she tries to show up, asked friends to help run interference with any family trying to pressure us, asked my sister Claire to be the point person for all wedding communications, created a new email just for wedding correspondence, sent a brief, factual message to close family, explaining our decision about Patricia Thomas, actually requested to meet with us privately yesterday and came alone despite Patricia insisting on being included, according to what he told us. I was shocked when he actually broke down a bit and apologized for not controlling the situation better. He admitted that Patricia's behavior has been problematic for years, but he's always tried to keep the peace. I honestly had always seen Thomas as just Patricia's quiet supporter, so his candor was really surprising. I think he's mostly upset about missing Ryan's wedding, which is understandable. He asked if there was any way he could still attend, even if Patricia couldn't. Ryan and I are still discussing that. I feel bad for Thomas because it seems like he's caught between his wife and his son, but also, he enabled her behavior for years, so I don't know. Despite everything, Ryan and I actually feel more united than ever. Silver linings, I guess. Claire found a promising lead on a sample sale with potential replacement dresses, and we're going tomorrow. I'm still anxious about the continuing family drama, but I'm determined to have our wedding despite Patricia's attempts to control everything. Several of Ryan's family members have privately reached out in support after hearing the full story from Thomas, which gives me hope that we can still have family present who truly support our marriage. I'm exhausted and emotionally drained, but at least now we know what we're dealing with, and I'm so grateful for Ryan standing up for us. I'll update again after we, hopefully, find a new dress. Edit. A lot of you are asking if I should have looked at Patricia's iPad. I know it wasn't the right thing to do, and I'm not usually the type to invade someone's privacy. But after what she did to my dress and our home, I felt like I needed to know what we were dealing with. I'm not proud of it, but I also don't regret finding out the truth. To those asking why Ryan didn't stand up to his mom sooner, I think losing his sister made their family dynamic really complicated. He's always felt responsible for his parents' happiness since then. This is the first time he's really put his foot down with her. Thanks for all the advice about taking legal action. We're considering our options, but honestly, just want to focus on salvaging our wedding right now. The dress cost about $3,800, including alterations, which I know is a lot, but I'm not sure it's worth the additional stress of small claims court right before our wedding. Someone asked about Thomas. Yes, we're leaning toward letting him come to the wedding. He seems genuinely remorseful, and Ryan doesn't want to lose his relationship with his dad. We're just trying to figure out how to handle it logistically to make sure Patricia doesn't show up too. Now for the second update. So a lot has happened since my last post. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented with support and advice. So yeah, we got married last weekend. Just over 3 weeks after the whole dress disaster situation. It's been such a whirlwind that I'm still trying to process everything that happened. For those who asked about the dress situation, my sister Claire organized this emergency dress shopping expedition with 5 days' notice. We hit up this designer sample sale that I didn't even know was happening and found an incredible gown that was even more flattering than my original dress. It needed minimal alterations and was actually in our suddenly reduced budget after we declined Patricia's contributions. We had to completely reorganize the wedding with basically no notice. Our friends and family helped us downsize from the hotel venue to this little botanical garden that had a last-minute cancellation. It was more intimate than we planned, 65 people instead of 120, and honestly, it turned out better than I expected. The week before the wedding was chaos because it coincided with a massive project deadline at work. My boss was super understanding once I explained the situation and gave me 2 extra days off to handle all the wedding crisis management. Okay, so Patricia's behavior leading up to the wedding was something else. Like, she went from bad to worse. She sent a written apology that was basically just excuses and backhanded comments like, "I'm sorry you felt your dress was damaged." She showed up uninvited to my bridal shower. Claire had to escort her out while Patricia was crying about being excluded from wedding traditions. She called at least 3 of our vendors, pretending to be me to try to change arrangements. She sent Ryan daily emails with links to articles about forgiving family and wedding regrets. She showed up at Ryan's workplace to talk some sense into him when she knew he couldn't just walk away. She sent my parents an expensive crystal serving set with a note about wanting peace between the families, which my mom called emotional blackmail with tableware. Thomas, Ryan's dad, ultimately decided to attend the wedding alone after an emotional conversation with Ryan. Ryan explained later that this was the first time in their 35-year marriage that Thomas had ever taken a major stand against Patricia's behavior. We hired security for the wedding after Ryan's cousin Morgan warned us that Patricia was still planning to attend because she was sure Ryan would change his mind once he saw her. The wedding day itself started with anxiety. I couldn't even eat breakfast, wondering if Patricia would try something. But as the day went on, everything felt more relaxed and joyful. The ceremony was beautiful and intimate, and I only cried a little bit. Okay, a lot, but in a good way, lol. But of course, Patricia couldn't just let us have one day. During the cocktail hour, security informed our wedding coordinator that Patricia had arrived and was demanding to be let in. The coordinator pulled us aside, and I felt my stomach drop. Ryan's jaw got all tight, the way it does when he's super stressed, and we stepped away from everyone for a minute. Ryan said nothing is going to ruin this day and squeezed my hand really tight. I could tell he was upset but trying to stay calm for me. Security told us Patricia was making a scene in the lobby, crying loudly about being excluded from her only living child's wedding, using Ryan's sister's death for sympathy. They called Thomas out to deal with it, and my sister Claire kept all the other guests distracted with extra champagne so nobody would notice. From what Thomas told us later, he basically told Patricia she needed to leave immediately, and she accused him of betraying her and choosing strangers over family. When she refused to leave, security had to escort her to her car. When Thomas came back, he looked completely exhausted but somehow different, more confident. He just told Ryan, "It's handled. This is your day." And honestly, the wedding got even better after that whole situation. Despite everything, we decided to acknowledge what we'd been through in our vows. We both promised to protect each other and stand united against whatever challenges come our way. After the wedding, we took a mini honeymoon at this cute lake house about an hour away. We're planning a real honeymoon next year when we can save up again. When we got back, there was a huge package from Patricia waiting at our apartment. Inside was an expensive crystal vase and a 5-page handwritten letter. The letter was basically trying to completely rewrite what happened, claiming she was deeply hurt not to be included in the wedding, with zero acknowledgement of why she wasn't invited or any genuine apology for destroying my dress. She suggested we start fresh now that the stressful wedding planning is behind us. Ryan read the letter silently, then just placed it in a drawer without saying anything. We spent the next few days discussing how to handle it. Ryan finally decided that ignoring her would just lead to more boundary violations, so he sent a clear email explaining that their relationship could only continue with professional therapy and demonstrated behavior change. She responded with this weird mix of playing the victim while superficially agreeing to his terms. It was like, "I'm so hurt you feel this way, but I guess I'll do therapy if that's what it takes for you to stop punishing me." We spent a lot of time figuring out how to handle Patricia going forward. Ryan admitted he's been researching family therapists to help him process everything, which I think is such a healthy step. We eventually came up with these non-negotiable boundaries. Patricia has to attend therapy consistently for at least 6 months before we'll consider limited contact. Any manipulation or boundary violations equals immediate distance. Future visits will only happen in public places, not our home. We present a united front to both families. I was really worried about being portrayed as the villain who separated Ryan from his family, but Ryan keeps reassuring me that he's making this choice for himself as much as for us. Ryan has been so strong through all this, but he admitted he still feels waves of anger and sadness about his mom's actions. He said the hardest part is accepting that the mother he thought he had never really existed, that she's always been manipulative, but he just couldn't see it clearly until now. And then, something happened that made all these boundaries with Patricia even more important. 2 days ago, I found out I'm pregnant. We weren't planning to start a family quite this soon, but when I told Ryan, his reaction was, "God, I'm tearing up just thinking about it." He was shocked at first, then got this intensely protective look and said our child would never experience the kind of manipulation he grew up with. Ryan called his dad to share both the pregnancy news and our firm decision about Patricia. No unsupervised contact with our future child unless she demonstrates real change through therapy and respectful behavior. Thomas was actually really supportive and promised to respect our decisions. But of course, Thomas told Patricia about the pregnancy, and she absolutely lost it. I got 36 new missed calls from her in a single day. She left hysterical voicemails about her rights as a grandmother and sent multiple texts alternating between congratulations and veiled threats about family courts recognizing grandparent rights. Then she posted this announcement on Facebook about becoming a grandmother. We hadn't even told most of our friends yet. Ryan finally called her and delivered this ultimatum about respecting our boundaries. She cried that she was being punished for one mistake with the dress, and Ryan very calmly told her that the dress was just the final straw in a lifetime of boundary violations and manipulative behavior. When she tried to guilt Ryan about depriving his child of a loving grandmother, he explained that her access to our baby would depend entirely on her behavior and willingness to change. I think she finally understood how serious we are because she got really quiet. Ryan ended the call saying he hopes she gets help for everyone's sake. And yesterday morning, she actually sent a message saying she scheduled a therapy appointment. It's a tiny step, but it's something, I guess. I have such mixed feelings about everything. The wedding dress disaster was deeply painful, but in a weird way, it forced us to establish these necessary boundaries that we might have avoided setting until after the baby arrives. Some of Ryan's relatives are still pressuring us to forgive and forget, and acting like we're overreacting, which has left those relationships pretty strained. But our marriage feels stronger for having weathered this together, and I'm hopeful about Patricia's first tiny step toward change. So yeah, that's where we are. Married, expecting, and dealing with the world's most boundary-challenged MIL. Life comes at you fast, I guess.